Follow the lights down there. Like the lights. I'd say most.
Tonight we're going to explore the world of film noir. Hopefully you've all got a program which we'll go through plan for tonight. Just a bit of housekeeping. Toilets are out this door, down the stairs. There's a little toilet. First up tonight we have a talk by Dr Mike Nolan on film noir. Following that, we'll be performing a radio play, The Red Wind by Raymond Chandler, which was first aired in 1947. Then we will enjoy a delicious supper, and then after that we will have a reading by Lachlan Plain, and then we'll have question time following that. So if you'd like to welcome Dr Mike Nolan, first up.
I feel that there's a bottle of scotch there just on the sideboard there, off the back there. It's very tempting, but and actually in keeping with noir, but Madeleine mentioned Raymond Chandler, and of course he is a wonderful influence in noir, both in terms of his writing and also the fact that he wrote a number of film scripts. He also liked to drink or two, and just reading all his stories the other day, there's a feeling as you go through it following Philip Marlowe as having this bottle of scotch and that bottle of scotch. If by the end of the novel, the end of the story, you feel that you're over 0.05 just by reading the things. I thought that with 30 minutes or so, and I hope to show a bit of a clip of a noir film towards the end, but to just sort of focus on what actually is film noir. Because I think that we have a lot of impressions about noir. We think in terms of the darkness, the shadows, the detectives who seem to be associated with that, and also films from a particular period, the 40s and the 50s. And while I think that that's certainly true, it's in a way limiting, narrowing noir down it. Certainly the films were from the 40s and the 50s, but they extended through into the late 50s and into the 60s, and of course the development of neo-noir. And if you've seen the film Chinatown, Chinatown is very much part of the tradition that began in the 1940s. So the term is also very flexible, and also, as is often the case, that where you have a movement or a style or a genre, all these words have been used to describe noir, that once noir became popular, suddenly the films that were seen to be noir seemed to get longer. It's a bit like particular events that occur, sporting events that might begin with maybe 100 people actually in attendance watching a tennis match or something, and then if it's of particular note, that grows to 200, 300 people who swear that they were there. it's a bit like that with noir too, that we have an idea of noir, and then sometimes we can try and push that out to other films which aren't necessarily perhaps what we consider to be noir. So we sort of look at the question, what is film noir? And there are a number of different words we can use to describe it. There is a feeling of disorientation, both for the characters in the film and also for us as an audience. We can sometimes have disturbing things being displayed within the film, and there's also a sense that the characters are not in control of circumstances and situations. That feeling of disorientation, of dislocation, moves through the film. And I'll talk about how there are different ways that things, other influences connect, other things that make us able to give an impression of what noir means. We can focus on those as we go through. Just some sort of interesting things about the development of noir. The actors, the cinematographers, the directors weren't conscious of creating a new genre of film. And one of the things, when you listen to actors and actresses who were in the first noir films and directors, they say, look, we thought we were just in a crime film. We thought that this was, it was often called melodramas of that particular time. And if you look up the various trade papers describing reviews of the films, they talk about Maltese Falcon melodrama, which has a different connotation to what we might think of that. So the people making these films weren't consciously setting out to make a new style. In the way that if you were making a Western in the 1920s or 30s, you were aware if you had cowboys in a Western set in the 19th century, you were making a Western. The people involved with noir, the first ones, were aware of being influenced by their surroundings, but it's only later that the things that we associate with noir were recognised. And for this we have to thank the French, I suppose, for our concept of noir, and certainly the word itself. As a result of World War II, and the fact that France was occupied, the American films of the early 40s didn't make it to, or if they did, they weren't shown in Paris or in France. So at the end of the war, 1946, suddenly films that had been kept, hadn't been shown, were introduced to a viewing audience for the first time. So in 1946, we have a number of films that, for French audiences, were new, even though they were a few years old. So we have The Maltese Falcon. We have a film called Laura. We have another Raymond Chandler story, which I'll just quickly look at. Murder My Sweet, I was going to say, Kiss Me Goodbye, but that's another one. The one thing I think is fantastic about noir is the titles. We have Kiss Me Deadly, Kiss Me Goodbye, you know, all these things, Shoot Me Dead, I Married a Dead Man. The titles themselves were not meant to be particularly subtle. They were saying, there's going to be blood and guts in this, come along and watch. So, Murder My Sweet, The Woman in the Window, and a great film, Double Indemnity. So for the French film critics, suddenly they saw 7 films that were made over a period of time from 1940 onwards. They saw them within a few weeks, and they said, "Hold on, this is new. This is different. We are looking at crime films, but like not as we know it. The films themselves were more psychological. They delved into the hidden recesses of the minds of these people who were the protagonists. And whereas there had been many both French and American crime films in the 1930s, but with that sort of crime movie, it was the idea of the criminal and corruption and evil was happening outside the world, the nice comfortable world of Europe. The change that takes place with Noir is crime is invited into the everyday life. And it becomes very difficult in the films to discern those people who are the good guys and those people who are the bad guys. And we have that, if you're familiar with the Maltese Falcon, the character, Pedro. How do we see her? Because she tells Sam Spade that she lies all the time. So once he knows that, he can't take anything that she says as the truth. So she says that she is just simply acting out of the kindness of her heart. We realise that she is implicated and, in fact, sorry, this is sort of a spoiler alert here, but she actually kills one of the main people in the film. So suddenly with Noir we have a sense of the difficulty of interpreting crime within a community. As I say, in the 30s it was a case of Dillinger and all the other sort of gangsters, Little Caesar, a filmmaker, which is obviously, but that was outside. You could safely go home and you would be secure in your own environment. Suddenly, with films like Laura, Double Indemnity involves an insurance salesman, very romantic, falling in love with a married woman. And they both decide together, basically, to bump off the husband. The husband is to Trobe as something that is an impediment to their relationship. And this is just normal people, it seems, going about their everyday work, but bumping people off along the way. So the French called this, they said that this is film noir, it's dark, it's black. The Americans thought, oh, that sounds good, we'll take that. And we were calling it melodramas, crime, movies, etc. And so the name film noir attached itself to the films of that period. So a bit more background. Just looking at the influences of noir, wonderful series of magazines that they're sort of reprinted and sometimes you can get originals available. Black Mask was a magazine that grew up in the 1920s, into the 30s, also the 40s in the US, and you can see it's fairly unsubtle in terms of what it's trying to portray. But the person that we see, Dashiell Hammett, becomes important in our effort later on. Another one of the Black Mask. The Man Who Loved Dogs by Raymond Chandler, so we see his name. And another one, from later the price has gone up, Cornell Woolridge. There are basically, well, there are many writers who wrote for Black Mask who were very influential in the development of noir. Either their stories were used as film scripts, translated into film, or with a number of people that I mentioned before, important writers. Cornell Woolridge, Raymond Chandler, James M. Cain, and Dashiell Hammett himself, we find that, yes, no, we've got to together. That these writers suddenly, well, I shouldn't say suddenly, it's over a period of time, but they create a sense of the crime novel moving from just the lurid stories involved in Black Mask, which I should say are good fun to read anyway. It's always good to have lots of people doing very dastardly and bad things. You can put the book down. But the four writers that I mentioned started to become interested in the psychology of crime and the psychology of transgression. Why do people do these things? And James M. Cain, in the book The Postman Always Rings Twice, and also Double Indemnity, he became interested in the person who decides to